Hello, I'm Jody Wolf. You're watching Expoz August 24, 2016 at 9:28 p.m. Birmingham. Topic, I'm going to tell you why there aren't any other planets within our little tight solar system. And bear with me because it comes to a point and it makes sense when I get there. A lot of you know, I've mentioned a time or two that I'm a pilot. And my stepson was on leave from the Navy in Mobile. My wife and I ran out to the airport, jumped on a plane, and we took off to see him over the weekend. And we left Birmingham at 9 a.m. one morning. It was already a scorching 90 degrees. And I noticed that the normal smog level back in 85, the normal smog level was heavier than it is today. So you won't run across a layer that sandwiched itself like it was back then. But I'd punch up through the smog and it would get thick, but it would never get so thick that you couldn't see the ground if you were, didn't matter if you were 3 or 4 or 5,000 feet, you could see the ground. This day was different. We went on to Mobile and checked with the weather in advance to make sure that the trip back would be okay, and it was. So we left at 7 p.m. And in Birmingham it's getting dark, right at 8:30. And so we leave Mobile and we're going to scoot to Birmingham, and we are handed off to Houston, okay? Houston takes control, and they said, "You want a beeline?" And I said, "Affirmative." So they set us on the course where we're going to beeline to Birmingham. Forget following the interstate. We're going, they're going to cut us right through it. So we climb out at 8,500, and we have a tailwind in excess of 40 knots. So we're picking up some speed coming in. In fact, I had to throttle back just a little bit. There is a speed limit, believe it or not, and at certain levels. But one thing that got me that I'd never seen before, when we were going on up to 85, because Houston called us right 10 minutes after we took off and asked if we wanted to climb out and get a tailwind, and I said, sure. So they told us to keep a certain heading to hit 8,500 feet. We punched through, and I never saw this. I mean, I've done it before, but not quite this way. It's like we went through wow, what can you say? A real thin, see-through nylon screen that wasn't held together, just kind of floating together. But when we punched through it, it's just like a thin layer. It's just like we went visibly through something that was the top layer of the cloud, but it was not a cloud, it was smog. In the top portion of it, and we were 500 feet above it, unbelievable. It was the most peaceful flight I've ever been on in my life, including airlines. And the beauty of it, to look down, it was pure silver, like a sea of glass as far as we could see in any direction. We did see other aircraft at that level, and it was amazing how far away they were, but how easily we could see them. Well, then we get about Montgomery, Alabama, and then Houston Center hands us to Atlanta Center. And at Atlanta Center, we got about 10 minutes flight. We need to drop it because we're going to come into Birmingham. And so 45 miles out of Birmingham, they called us and gave us, the tower to Birmingham, said they'll, take control of you. And anyway, tower gave us a heading, so we continued the beeline, but we had to descend. We came down to about from 8,500, and when you get below a 3,000 foot level, then you don't have to alternate between 500 feet at a time. You have 500 feet, meaning if you're going northwest, you got to be at a certain level. It's 1,000 or odd 1,000 plus 5, or if it's the other direction, it's even 1,000 plus 5. That separates aircraft that's going in different directions, like toward each other, 1,000 foot separation. But the point is, we came down to 3,000 feet. We're right on that borderline, and I couldn't see nothing. I mean, I've never been in anything that was not a cloud that thick, but it wasn't a cloud. And I told the tower, I said, Tower, I need to get down out of this. I said, they put me down at 2,200 feet, so they cleared me immediately to go to 2,200 feet. I went 2,200 feet. I still could not see the ground, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I called the tower back in about another minute, and because I am about 12 miles out, and they dropped me down. Well, he said, come at your discretion, let us know where you want to stop. We got down to 1,250 feet and stopped, and we were able to see, okay, not good, but okay, and we went on to Birmingham. And we didn't track an ILS on 5 or 23. We stayed on 1836, which we flew straight in on runway 360, which is north. 360 is still lined as north, even on the maps I checked last night, but yet it should be at like 7 degrees, not 360. It should be like 7. And so it's not here. It may be off center on a polar shift in other places, but for some reason, our runway is still lined up dead 360. Anyway, the point is, that reflector on top of that 8,000 foot cloud, that'll reflect sunlight from the bottom just like it will from the top. Give the appearance, when you see a sun in the evening, you'll have an appearance of two suns in the sky near each other. And I can attest to that because I took a picture of it one day to prove a point. And this is the point I'm proving now or making now. And then you see other people have looks like another planet of a hologram, see-through, but a shadow between 270 and about 15 degrees toward the north, which would be about 285 degrees. So it's not 45 degrees between, from 270 north to 90 degrees. So it's not 45. It's more like 15. And what got me was all these pictures different people showed at different times. They're showing a picture that's in the same sky position depending on where they live. They're seeing the very same thing that you see when you see two suns. You are seeing a reflection that is coming off the bottom of the top of that haze layer. The haze layer is highly intensified today, and it's moved way up higher because these aircraft with the chemtrails go as high as 45,000 feet to spew their chemtrail That right there, 45,000 feet, that will give you, it'll look like there's a shadow planet right next to the sun as the sun is going down. But the sun is a bright sun, and you have a slight shadowy figure that you can see through. This bigger than the sun. It is all a reflection, every bit of it. It's reflecting from that metal particles that's coming out of those chemtrail spewing jets at 45,000 feet. The same thing of smog that sits at 7,000 or 8,000 feet, and you have a sun that dips low enough, you see two suns. Guys, think about that. That's what you're seeing. And it doesn't have to be just that time of the day. So there will be an appearance at other locations in different positions, depending on the other location. So think about it. You don't have, and it's impossible to have a planet that close that's giving off a shadow, because somebody is going to conflict with the, we have the moon that's holding us off, and somebody's going to suck us in and let their, what am I trying to say, gravity field touch us, or we'll touch them and absorb them, and they'll start swirling around us. That's not happening. That's not. And think about it. If you had another planet circling the sun, don't you think it would suck in Mars? Of course it would. Or if it was smaller, Mars would suck it in. I'm sorry, not Mars, Mercury. But that's what it is. There's not another planet within our solar system. And there's not a planet that's going to hit this Earth. If anything ever hits this Earth, which something will, but it'll be no bigger than the same thing, maybe a little bit larger than what hit Arizona a long, long, long time ago. So forget these other planets that you always see the shadows of, but for some reason you never see the planet. That's the reason. Jody with Expoz.